It's now time for everyone's favorite game. Phew, for a minute there, I misspelled myself. Thomas Edward York has perhaps one of the dumbest spelled names in all of rock and roll. I've identified 5 other artists with similarly silly spelled names. I'm going to give you the title of one of their hits. If you guess the artist correctly, you get a point. If you are able to identify which member of that group has a dumb spelled name, you get another point. So in this instance, it would be Karma Police, right? Mm-hmm. You would give me the artist Radiohead.
Yes.
Radiohead.
Good. Can you tell me which member has a dumb spelled name?
Tom York.
Okay, great. Then you get an additional point if you can spell how he spells his dumb name.
THOM space YORKE.
Good. That's the example. You get nothing for this. If, say, one person, Olivia, buzzes in and you get it wrong, someone can steal. Okay? Yeah. But you can only guess once per facet. So if you want to do like the spelling challenge, you get one attempt at that per artist. Okay?
Got it.
Heard.
The loser of this game will unfortunately be plagued with depression. If you are already depressed, you will now have double depression.
Damn it. Can't do that.
Who's ready to play? Question 1. Purple Haze.
Jimi Hendrix.
Can you give me the full name of the band?
Oh, the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Yes, very good.
Well,
Okay, so yes, which member of the Jimi Hendrix Experience has a dumb spelled name?
Jimi Hendrix.
Great, can you spell it?
JIMI.
Jimmy was already playing in London, spelling his name like a square, JIMMY, which is funny because if you look at some of like the early Jimi Hendrix Experience posters, it's spelled like JIMMY. His manager, Chaz Chandler, you know, that guy from Friends, told him that changing or spelling his name would help his career, and I guess it did. Question 2. Hotel California.
The Eagles.
Good. Which member?
I don't know.
Anyone? That would be Glenn Fry is the one with the dumb spelled name. It is spelled Frey. Question 3. Stressed Out.
21 Pilots.
Yes, correct. Which member has a dumb name? There's only 2.
May I steal?
You can if he can't get it.
Unable to answer.
Okay.
Clap.
Is it Josh Dunn?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then would you like to take a stab at how he spells his dumb name?
JOSHDUNN. DUN.
Yes. All right. We're giving it to you. Yeah, Josh Dunn.
Yeah.
Just DUN.
He's
done.
That's all he's got.
He's done. Question 4. I don't know why I'm saying questions because these aren't really questions. They're
Statements.
It's not even really a statement. It's just information
Go.
I'm giving.
Go.
Number 4. Special Affair. This is a song by The Internet. The Internet.
It's not their
Can
hit.
anyone
That's not
tell
their
me
hit.
someone from The Internet who has a dumb spelled name?
Steve Lacy.
STEVELACY.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Correct.
Seems like I'm gonna win anyway.
Yeah, you did win. Statistically, no one can beat you now. But we'll do number 5 anyway. Fuji La.
Lauryn Hill's The Fugees.
Correct. Which band member has a dumb spelled name?
Wyclef Jean.
No.
Is it Lauryn Hill?
Oh, you have to clap for it to
He
be
already
official.
gave me
Also,
the
was that
ding.
was
You have
that
to
you
be official.
impersonating Owen?
That's
It
rude.
was half.
Kick her off. Get off.
Okay.
Leave.
Try to spell Ms. Lauryn Hill.
Do I have to include the Ms?
She will find and kill us all if you don't.
MS. Dot.
Yep.
LAURYN?
Holy moly, yes. Very, very good.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll never miss a chance to dunk on Miss Lauryn Hill. She's killing me softly with the spelling. This This is Deep Dive Divas. Each episode, Owen, myself, and this episode, 2 guests listen to every blessed studio album by an artist of their choosing and share our findings with you. Our guests today are Olivia and Justin. Olivia would like to promote the concept of world peace, while Justin would like to promote Ramsey Service Center. If you are in the Delaware County area and in need of assistance with your vehicle, come on down to 659 Vermont Road in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania for excellent service, fix right the first time. Olivia,
Yes.
you chose Radiohead.
That I did.
Why?
I have been immersed in them this past year to a degree. Yeah.
Why?
It's I think that it is very easy to apply a majority of their discography to just like ambient soundtracking your day to day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. Justin, you did not choose Radiohead. It kind of chose you, but what do you think about Radiohead?
You know, for me, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to all of the albums to kind of understand Radiohead a little bit better. You know, I kind of like how they stress on switching up styles in a lot of their different albums, and to me that was kind of cool. I could be in this mood or this mood, and I could find an album or a song from them that would work for the way I'm feeling currently.
Radiohead are a rock and roll band from England, specifically from Abingdon, about 60 miles west of London. They began making music in the early 1990s, and they're still doing so with pretty much the same lineup today. They have 9 albums. They are considered one of the pioneers of alternative rock. With a degree of irony, they have won 6 Grammys. Very alternative to win 6 Grammys. And have sold over 30 million albums around the globe. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as of 2019. What is everyone's first experience with Radiohead that you can remember?
I know that I have heard Creep before I have heard the 15-step feature on the Twilight soundtrack, but that is the most vivid thing that lives in my head.
Twilight.
Yes.
Lobster raviolis.
No, it's mushroom. It's mushroom ravioli.
Is it?
Yes. That's what she eats when Edward takes her to the Italian restaurant.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
This is ruining my whole concept of the world that I understood I was
sure
living
if
in.
they were in Maine, it would be lobster ravioli, but
Sure.
as they are in Washington,
Baseball. Supermassive black
God,
hole.
that-
Muse.
yeah.
Specifically, my first memory of Radiohead would be sitting in the back seat of my mom's minivan on our way to like my aunt's house, and just like she said, Creep came on. Next thing you know, my mom's screaming at the top of her lungs, slamming on the brakes up and down, making the car shake.
Is this what made you become a mechanic? Because the car broke down and you had to repair it while your mom screamed Tom York at you?
Listen, she might listen to this later.
Really? You have a
She
supportive
actually
mother?
might.
I cannot imagine.
I do. I love my mom very much.
Cool.
She's great.
Can I just shout out my mom?
You do this frequently.
Mom, if you're listening.
If you're listening, get the nearest salt shaker and just sprinkle a little
Sprinkle on my head. Yeah, sprinkle on my head.
Like you're killing a slug.
Yeah. My first instance with the Radiohead was probably Creep. Like, I think Book of Life, that movie. The guy like sings it.
But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't belong.
Follow me back, if you will, to the 1980s. Everyone's voting Republican and wearing acid wash jeans.
Good old days.
The boys all went to school together in Abingdon, England, imaginatively named the Abingdon School.
Hell.
Yes. You guys ever hear of Harry Potter?
Yes.
This is, I think, like down the street from where he went to school.
Yeah, Abingdon is a hop, skip, and a jump from Hogwarts.
Or one flying car away. Gringotts.
If the tree doesn't get in the way, that is.
That's the Whomping Willow?
Yes, it is the Whomping Willow.
Mushroom ravioli for everyone. This school seems quite posh to me. I looked into it, and just to go there, you're looking at about £24,420 or $30,535 US dollars annually. And then if you want to live there, which it seems many folks do, like the folks from Radiohead, the fee is double that. So about $100,000 a year just for your snot-nosed little kid to go to school.
No thanks.
Yeah.
Don't
Get
go
outta
to
here,
school.
kid.
But perhaps the economy is structured differently. And
British
Well, they don't pay for
change.
medicine, so
yeah, all of those medicinal costs now go towards
to education.
Yep.
I think I'm sending my kid down the street to Harry Potter's.
Snape is dead. In the movie
Thank
and in real life.
God.
While you're speaking, I'm gonna do a what Hogwarts house am I?
Okay.
That's cool. I've read half of the first book. So,
Are we taking guesses?
Let's guess what Hogwarts house Owen is. I'm going a strong Ravenclaw.
I'm feeling Hufflepuff or Slytherin.
Okay. And
I feel
Justin?
like he's got a trick up his sleeve.
You know, initially I was Hufflepuff, and then he gave me this twisted look in his eye, like he had demise coming.
too twisted.
Like he had a chamber of secrets or something like that. So we're going to go Slytherin.
While you're doing that, we're going to continue the episode. Thomas Edward York was born on October 7th, 1968. His left eye was non-mobile as a child, and he had multiple surgeries throughout his childhood. According to Thom, the last surgery is what was responsible for his askew eyelid. If you ever see the fellow, he's got kind of a droopy eyelid.
Yeah.
And we don't judge him for that. At which point, he said he and his family just had enough. York claims that he was certain he would have a career in music after watching Queen, not the Queen. I want to make that very clear.
Queen.
Queen.
Yeah.
John Deacon and the rest.
Yeah?
You know, John Deacon, the most famous person in Queen.
Oh, absolutely.
Music was also a safe haven for him at the Abingdon School, as he got into fights a lot with the other kids and would seek physical refuge from them through art and music at school. The director of music at Abingdon, one Terence Gilmore James, said that York was, quote, not a great musician, but instead a thinker and experimenter. Tom composed music for his school's production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. No reaction from the boy. Oh, there it is. And he performed.
We're getting a Hogwarts house announcement.
It is Slytherin. I don't know why.
Big loss for
I
Slytherins.
chose.
I'm going to move on with the episode. Tom composed music for his high school's production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and performed in various vocal recitals, took classical guitar lessons, and joined a punk band called TNT. He quickly left that band after having, quote, creative differences. My guess is they just weren't very good. In 1985, Tom starts making music with the student who was giving him classical guitar lessons, one Colin Greenwood. They were the same age, and Colin played bass while they played together while Tom would play guitar, which is funny because he was teaching him how to play guitar, but I guess the students are past the master. A slightly older student, Ed O'Brien, who also played guitar, he joined up with them. And the even older drummer, Philip Selway, joins them. They're only allowed to rehearse in their school's music room on Fridays, so they call themselves On a Friday. Eventually, Colin's younger brother, Johnny, would be invited to join the band as the everything player. But he mostly plays lead guitar and keyboards, but he shakes maracas and tambourines and
synthesizers.
Yeah, and theremins.
Keep talking.
It's pretty rich that you are getting on my case for derailing us.
Because you're always the problem. I'm just trying to get in here, get stuff done.
Hey, I love you.
Love you too.
Initially, everyone wrote songs for the band, but it quickly became evident that Tom was the guy. They took to rehearsing in the county of Oxfordshire. This music scene was dominated by shoegaze bands like fellow English Blokes, Slow Dive, and Ride. Do you guys know them?
Yes, big fan of Slow Dive.
1987, Radiohead plays their first show at Jericho Tavern in Oxford and continue to play in the area. They also record an early demo tape, which makes it to Island Records, who offer them a record deal. Radiohead turns them down. So they ask Island Records for a record deal. They're offered one, and then they say no. So they can continue their studies at university and other post-school endeavors. What a bunch of dweebs,
losers,
nerds. They take a 4-year break from playing out live, but would still get together to hang out and practice and stuff. Tom goes off to the University of Exeter and joins a group called the Headless Chickens. Some of these songs will go on to be Radiohead songs, which is funny just to think of how many Radiohead songs that I probably cried myself to sleep to
Were originally
as the Headless
composed
Chickens.
under Headless Chickens.
So that's a Harry Potter character, right?
Nearly headless chick.
In 1991, it isn't until this year they get back together, all moving in together and resume playing shows. And when I say all moving, like they're living in the same flat together. I don't even want to imagine what the smell was like
And
in
they
there.
were roommates.
Quickly, the producer of Slow Dive, one Chris Hufford Puff, and his business partner Bryce Edge. They see On a Friday playing, because remember, they're not Radiohead yet, playing live, and they decide to bring them into their recording studio to make another demo. This one is called Manic Hedgehog, and it gets heard by an A&R representative from EMI. This is who they sign a 6-album deal with, following the stipulation that they change their name, which they do. And they get that from, in 1986, a band from New York City called the Talking Heads, yes,
yeah.
put out an album called True Stories, and there's a song on it called Radiohead.
This show sucks.
They also toyed around with other names such as Music and Jude, which is a reference to Thomas Hardy's Jude the Obscure. In 1992, they record a proper EP with Chris Hufford and Bryce Edge, the guys who I was just telling you about, entitled Drill, which we won't even mention here. We don't talk about EPs on the show. We only are going to talk about every blessed studio album that Radiohead
we
ever
won't
made.
even mention. We won't even talk.
So
about
we're not going to talk about how Drill is received. We won't mention the name of the EP. We won't talk about who they recorded it with. We just won't even talk about it.
Yeah, we won't mention that Drill.
It's not going to come up. You can accuse us of a lot of things, but no one
Well-
will be able to look at Owen and myself and say, those guys talked about Drill, Radiohead's EP, on their podcast.
We've been accused of child labor.
Indentured servitude.
Yeah. But we will never,
Ever talk about Drill by Radiohead, an EP recorded with Chris Hufford and Bryce Edge. And we certainly won't mention the reception that Drill had, of which there was little to none. And EMI actually decides to bring on a couple of Americans, Sean Slade and Paul Coldery, to work with the band on a full-length record to try to make it more palatable to an American audience. We're not going to talk about any of that
We also won't mention the child labor laws
that we violate
that we
daily.
violated daily.
Please don't go in our basement.
Yeah.
Please.
See no, hear no.
You know the children who are in our basement? These two gentlemen, Sean Slade and Paul Coldery,
sucks.
who I just talked about, they worked with the likes of Hole. Ever heard of them?
Oh, make me over.
Courtney Love.
Yeah.
Alive.
She did her husband in.
Ooh.
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to mention that Courtney Love killed Kurt Cobain with a shotgun.
But
I
no.
did.
They also produced albums for the Pixies, Weezer, and Dinosaur Jr. Their first record was preceded by a single called Crepe, which came out in September of 1992. While some folks liked it, BBC Radio 1 banned it from the airwaves due to its depressing nature, and NME called the group, quote, a lily-livered excuse for a rock band. I bet NME, they have that framed somewhere, I'm sure, in their offices.
Yeah.
Being like, you remember that time we like got it so wrong? When we made
It
fun of
happens.
like the band that we're going to worship for the next
Yeah.
3 decades. 1993, we get the first album, proper album by Radiohead. The first piece of music that we're going to discuss that they made. We have not mentioned
We've
a
not
single
mentioned-
one prior to this. And that is called Pablo Honey. It comes out in February of 93. I had never heard it before listening to it for this episode. It is way more like grunge than I was expecting. There's a song called You on here, which I think like sounds like it's from the Seattle music scene.
They're so mature just from the jump. They're already a very mature band. It seems like they have their sound picked out. I like How Do You? I like that song. I like Tom's voice is great on this record already.
Yeah. I think How Do You is a good example of them, interestingly, being very good at writing verses that really stick with you, which is difficult. Most people are better at writing choruses and finding hooks. But Radiohead, I think, were good right from the gate, finding substance in their verses.
I give this album a 5.
I gave it a 5 as well.
I think that it is impressive that one of the most iconic songs of their entire careers is track 2 on a debut album. I think that's
Pretty
says a lot.
remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I also gave it I think I either gave it a 5 or a 6.
It's funny you mentioned the first track on that album, You. That to me actually,
I did mention it, yes.
to me that actually stood out, and which is rare for like the first song on a track to stick out to me like that, especially being one of their first, early on things. I was like, wow, that's actually really impressive.
For sure.
I may also add it is a good opening track to a debut album.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I rated this album. I went a little higher than you guys. I gave it a 7.4.
Ooh.
Very specific. This record goes to 22 on the UK charts. Kind of crazy to think of their debut album being that popular.
Yeah.
None of its singles make it onto any charts, including Creep. However, a big DJ in Israel, and I mean he's big in terms of popularity. I can't really speak to his stature. He seems pretty much like a normal sized fellow. Named Yoav Kutner, heard the record and started playing Creep regularly, which kind of tells us where Yoav Kutner was in his life, where he heard Creep and was like, I need to keep listening to this. And you're all going to listen to it too.
This is my anthem.
The song gets huge in Israel, and Radiohead are asked to play in Tel Aviv.
Ooh la la.
As they say in Israel, ooh la la.
C'est la vie.
Concurrently, it gets big in the US and gets up to number 2 on the Billboard Modern Rock chart and even 34 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Wow.
Huge.
Wow.
EMI puts Creep out again in September, a year after its initial release, and it now goes up to 7 on the UK charts. Radiohead opens up on a US tour alongside PJ Harvey and Belly. Boy, that's a tour I would love to see.
It's a sad tour.
It is a sad tour, but I'm a sad guy. I'd like to see that.
PJ Harvey.
Yeah.
It's not even bedtime. Why am I wearing my PJs?
Radiohead opens up for PJ and Harvey and Belly, and would later do the same for Tears for Fears and James all across Europe. Attendees would listen until they played Creep, and then they would walk out and go like get a drink and use the bathroom and hang out and have cigarettes outside. And Radiohead really begins hating Creep at this point. They also inexplicably get invited to play specifically Creep on MTV Spring Break in 1993.
They do
Again,
look pretty,
Spring Break.
pretty brooding.
Tom looks like one of the Cenobites from Hellraiser who had a trip to Paris, and then like this is the final result. I think they are playing it slightly slower than normal.
Just was about to say, I think the tempo is so mildly off.
You're just like an angel.
Get to the goods.
It goes.
Your skin makes me cry.
The close-ups are real. Yeah.
Are kind of wild. When someone asks me what I want for dinner, whatever makes you happy, whatever you want.
Alright, so this is our sports segment where we talk about movies and we talk about our favorite movies. And I watch a movie that people have seen, and I watch it for the first time, and then we talk about it. Today's movie was
Caddyshack. You guys seen Caddyshack?
Yeah.
A very long time ago.
Starring, Chevy Chase.
Ewan McGregor.
You know the guys.
What a guy.
The movie came out 1980.
Come on now.
All right, movie came out in 1980, starring Chevy Chase. It's about who's the kid? Who plays the kid?
Donald Glover.
Nope.
Donald Glover was not in Nope. I've seen the film.
This guy and his puns.
Go on.
It's about a caddy.
They're playing
wanting-
golf.
It's
They
about
wanna go to
Caddyshack.
college.
Yeah, they want to go to college.
There's
They
a
want to get the
gopher.
scholarship. There's a gopher trying to
And
do all this
golfers.
stuff.
There's gophers and golfers.
It was all right. It was like it had all the 80s movie mannerisms. You know?
Great. What are we going to watch next month?
Oh, I'm not done. I got a favorite line. Bill Murray's character, not my favorite.
No,
Kind of weird thing
come
going on.
on.
But he had my favorite line where he says, "In order to conquer an animal, I have to think like an animal, and whenever possible, look like one." Yeah, and when Rodney Dangerfield starts dancing from
Come
his club bag,
on.
that was funny.
Come on.
Also at the end,
They got golfers and gophers.
And at the end, he just goes, "Hey guys, we're all gonna get laid."
Yeah.
And they all go, "Yeah."
Which is that Hawaiian practice of putting a wreath of flowers around someone's neck.
Lay.
What are we going to watch next month?
I don't know. What's your guys' favorite movies?
Fast and Furious.
No. The
All right.
original Nosferatu, the silent film.
1994, Radiohead come into the new year, and they are suffering from the debilitating condition that I assume is known by anyone who has ever had a hit or any level of remote success, something I'll never know about. They now have expectations. They've had one hit. How are they going to make another? A lot of people never do. Additionally, Tom York specifically felt jaded about the MTV-ication of alternative music, which he felt was now being enlisted to push on young and impressionable people. They go on tour across the world, playing Mexico, Asia, Australia, before going into the studio where they record an EP, which we won't ever mention, called My Iron Lung. It is engineered by Nigel Godrich, who will go on to be their producer from this point in 1994 until like now. They've had the same producer this whole time, which is exceptionally unusual for a rock and roll band. Godrich has worked with everyone from the contemporary punk boys Idols, as well as Slacker Dillweed's Pavement, to old psychedelic former Pink Floyd member Roger Waters, as well as that Paul McCartney kid. So their producer has worked with everybody. And now he's working with Radiohead. This EP did not sell well. Again, we're not going to talk about it, but they spend the rest of the year being sad and also working on another full-length record, trying to redeem themselves. The following year in 95, they will release that record, and it is called The Bends.
The Bends. This is my, I'll go ahead and say it, a little shocking, my favorite Radiohead album.
Wow.
And I gave it a 9.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A 9.
Yeah.
12 songs.
Wow.
Yeah. Out of the gate, first track, Planet Telex. It rocks. Title track, funny. Kind of boring. High and Dry. Great song. One of their most popular.
Yeah.
Great song.
I love it. I think Tom hates it. I think he's on the record hating High and Dry now. So it's like their pop song.
Fake Plastic Trees. Good song.
Yeah,
Nice
I love
stream.
Fake Plastic
Fake
Trees.
Plastic Trees is a
That's the one.
Amazing song.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite.
Least favorite.
Yeah.
Out of the whole
So,
catalog?
Why?
I would like. Do you want to explain
Yeah.
why, and then I might explain why I think your opinion is your opinion.
So, okay. For me, Fake Plastic Trees, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on a little bit. And I feel like it's kind of, again, like the pace is kind of slower a little bit compared to what I like.
Okay.
I do believe that your interest in music is not quite as melodic as that song is.
She said I don't have the ability to understand the music that I am very
And
much listening to.
I am not trying to be like, you just don't get it. But like, honestly, I just don't think he gets it.
Used to do surgery for girls in the 80s, but gravity always wins. Everywhere's an
What did you guys rate this album?
I gave it a 3.5.
I think I kind of messed up my scale for this one because
There's no right or wrong.
I know, but
It's
I
all
gave it a
numbers.
7. But now that I'm thinking, if 10 out of 10 is a no skip album, I would probably knock it down to a 4,
Whoa.
5,
Shoot.
or 5.
Or 5.
But I'll take it from a
relax,
7
it's
to
a
a 5. It's a 5.
Okay.
I'm a solid 5 myself.
Their singles did well in the UK, but not at the same level of Creep. The album goes to 88 on the Billboard 200 here in the US, their worst performance to date. The album has since gone on to appear on various music publications lists of best albums ever made. Rolling Stone considered it the 111th best album ever made out of 500. They go back on tour. This is like Radiohead really does the whole like make an album, go on tour, make an album, go on tour. So you don't necessarily, I'm not going to go over that every single time, but that's basically what they do. That's what their whole business model
We won't
is.
even mention that they do that.
Well, I'll mention it when it's pertinent because they tour across Europe and North America with REM, which is huge for them. I know today, probably in terms of popularity, most people probably can identify Radiohead over REM now, would be
I
my
agree.
expectation. But
Yeah.
at this time, especially when Radiohead was coming to popularity, REM was like as big as it got for alternative music, aside from Nirvana, who was not really a factor anymore by this point. So the reason I brought up this whole deal about them going on tour with REM, it was on this tour that their van was jacked with all of their instruments in it in Denver, Colorado, and they did a few acoustic performances before basically saying this sucks, and they went home.
No
Oh
way.
my God.
Yep. In 1996, they really got along with that Nigel Godrich guy, and they start working with him on a new album. And as I said, they're pretty much going to work with him on every album from here on out. They had been rehearsing in an old apple shed that they gussied up, and it was there that they wrote a bunch of new songs for another new record. Whilst putting together this third album, they opened up for Alanis Morissette. You ought to know.
You ought to know.
Which is probably,
Shout
to
out
me,
Alanis.
the most tantalizing lineup out of all of these that have been mentioned so far. Seeing Radiohead with Alanis Morissette sounds like it would be an amazing time. They'll take all of their new songs to a mansion constructed in the 1400s in Somerset, England, and record constantly, reportedly in different rooms. And the fruits of their efforts, and maybe of their looms, are harvested for the following record entitled OK Computer. This album has 12 songs. To me, this is where they really become Radiohead, just from the lead-off track, Airbag. They have these massive sounding grooves and drones. There's a lot of orchestral pieces, gigantic delay and reverb on guitar, synthesizers, elongated mumbly vocal delivery. This is by far my favorite Radiohead album, and home to my Yummy Yummy song entitled Climbing Up the Walls.
All right.
I have cried to this song so many times.
It is such a great song.
Great vocal and guitar performance on that track. This record, I didn't like as much as I thought it would. I thought it was gonna be like this is the one, but it wasn't the one. Airbag, really good. Love the song. I like the little jingle bells. You know, Paranoid Android, good. Subterranean Homesick Alien, love that. Bob Dylan reference also. The first half of the album I felt was better. There were just some filler tracks that I wasn't big on. I'm not a big Karma Police guy. I wrote that.
Oh, mama.
No surprises. So good. So good.
Favorite
I love it.
Ever?
on this album.
Okay. All
On
right.
this album.
And then, speaking of favorites, my Yummy Yummy track,
Whoa.
The Tourist.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
Wow. What do you like
So
about
good.
it?
The
Tell
vocal
us.
performance is insane. You know, and it's great. It's really good. And I feel like it's not as popular as it should be. I give this album an 8.
I also gave it an 8.
Okay.
I actually also gave it an 8.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
Wow. Okay. What did you like about it, Olivia? I'm assuming you liked it if you gave it an 8.
I think they definitely do. They have fallen into the sound that they want to be. I think this is like a more confident piece of theirs in terms of production. And kind of again, like I can get behind the conceptual filler tracks for the sake of vibes and energy.
Okay.
I think it, as a whole, works very well.
Rolling Stone calls OK Computer, quote, a stunning art rock tour de force and award it 4 stars out of 5. The record hits number 1 in the UK and 21 in the US, and it gets them their first Grammy for Best Alternative Album. Again, a title that they really hate. They really don't like this whole alternative label. They also are up for Album of the Year. You won't believe it, but in 1997, they lose to Bob Dylan and his record Time Out of Mind. This is also the year Radiohead puts out their website, making them one of the first bands on Earth to do so. It's kind of remarkable to think that. But yeah, in 1997, like, bands didn't have websites. This gave fans a place to follow the band and has been attributed to one of the ways in which the band garnered and retained fans early on. They then go on tour, which is what they always do after putting out an album. But
We won't mention that.
This tour is captured in the 1999 documentary entitled Meeting People is Easy, which shows the band being really pissed off at each other and angsty.
Sick.
1998, the band plays a bunch of benefit concerts, such as the Amnesty International concert in Paris and the Tibetan Freedom concert. They tried to record a song for the film The Avengers, which has nothing to do with what you're thinking of. They ditched the song and spiral into depression, namely Tom and Ed O'Brien, and the band nearly breaks up because they are like so bummed out. They just don't want to do anything. They don't want to play music. They don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to do anything because they failed to be on the Avengers soundtrack. I really looked into this movie, and it has nothing to do with superheroes or anything at all. It's like a British spy movie.
British. They did it again.
I know they always find a way, as depressed people always do. They end up buying a barn near where they went to school, and they turn it into a studio. And this is where they begin working on another new album, but it will take them until 2000 to finish it. Tom York was obstructed by writer's block all throughout this, and there was a great deal of creative differences within the band. They're really quick and productive when they want to be. 2 years doesn't sound like a lot. That's like normal output for a lot of bands, but for them, that's a big, big lapse in time. The band gets it together enough to release their 4th record, entitled Kid A. Compared to its predecessor, this album is stripped down by a whole lot. It features Johnny Greenwood playing the onde marcanto, which is a wild electronic instrument that can be played via keyboard or by taking a ring on a wire and moving it around to create a ghost-like sound, sort of like a theremin. There's like 3 people on Earth who play them, and Johnny Greenwood's one of them. There's 11 songs on this album. The only one I think I knew beforehand was the national anthem. In its favor, there is a brass section of the song, which military bands will love. On the downside, it's almost 6 minutes long and completely impractical for any nation's national anthem. You can't have a national anthem that's 6 minutes long. There's no way. People literally won't stand for that. And just to put this into context for you, there are about 2,430 Major League Baseball games each season in the USA. That's 14,580 minutes of singing the national anthem in a season, or 243 hours, or 10.125 days. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I wrote, this is what I wish OK Computer fulfilled. I wish some of these I feel like some of these tracks could sort of killed out that filler on the last one. The out-of-tune horn swell from National Anthem on How to Disappear Completely is so creepy, and it's awesome.
And again, there's no way that Radiohead's The National Anthem is going to become the national anthem.
Totally, hope not.
It's just not going to happen.
I was listening to this in my bed at night, and I didn't feel safe. I really like In Limbo, and this is the most I wrote notes about a song. Idiotech, almost my yummy yummy. It's so scary, and just I've never felt that feeling while listening to a song. It's about like an apocalypse or something. There's like who's in a bunker, women and children first, ice age coming. We're not scaremongering. This is really happening. It's really creepy. Ice Age is coming is what I say to the DVD player when my dad tells me to put on a DVD.
Ice Age coming. Let me hear both sides. Let me hear both sides. Let me hear both. Ice Age coming. Throw it in the fire. Throw it in the fire. Throw it on. We're not scared. Mongering. This is really happening. We're not scared. Mongering. This is really happening.
I give this album an 8.8. I liked it a lot.
I gave it an 8. Everything in its right place. The tone and the synth scratches an itch in the brain. Get behind it. I do think that like the unsettling tone of the album as a whole does it a very good. Like you saying that you were kind of afraid.
Yeah.
Or just like
Yeah,
just like generally being unsettled by music, I think sometimes is a really good and interesting thing.
I was very optimistic about optimistic.
Okay.
Okay. I thought that was really good in my head. Not as good when it came out. No, Optimistic was definitely one of my, preferred songs on the album, as well as the national anthem and everything.
Which again, it's
What could
not
never
happen.
ever.
Listen, it's my national anthem. Okay, it's what I live by. I gave it an 8.2.
Whoa!
Aw.
An 8.2 or 8 as well?
8.2.
Oh. The album debuts at number 1 in the US, the first British act to do so since, anyone want to take a guess?
The Beatles.
Yeah.
No.
Nah.
1996 is the act that went
the
to number
Beatles.
1. The Spice Girls team.
Let's talk about the Spice Girls. They're cool.
Some have contended that the hype and anticipation of this album was fueled by its leak on Napster. I know none of you were alive when this was a thing, but Napster was a place people used to steal music.
Yeah.
And Metallica basically shut them down. I know it sounds like a joke, but that actually happened. Metallica was so incensed that people were stealing their music that they hired every lawyer in existence to sue the hell out of the people behind Napster. In this case, a lot of people heard this album by Radiohead, and it actually then led to album sales and people demanding to hear them from their from radio stations. So it's not always necessarily a bad thing. It actually fueled their popularity in this case. Reviews were mixed on the album, as were fans. Many people said that this was, quote, intentionally difficult, which I think is kind of true. Tom was really upset by hearing that, of people saying this is like a difficult album and you're just being opaque and intentionally inaccessible. And Tom said, quote, "We're not trying to be difficult. We're actually trying to communicate, but somewhere along the line, we just seem to piss a lot of people off." They toured Europe in a tent that they had custom made that had no advertisements on or within it. 2001, Kid A took the Best Alternative Album Grammy home and was again nominated for Album of the Year. It loses to, again, very improbably in 2001, Steely Dan's Two Against Nature. It should be noted that Eminem's The Marshall Mathers LP was also up for the award in 2001, and I think in hindsight, history would say that was the album of the year. A mere 7 months later, the band puts out their fifth record, Amnesiac, which includes unused recordings from Kid A, but the band doesn't like it when people bring that up, and they insist that it's its own album.
The B-sides of Kid A
Don't
is
say that.
Don't say that.
Tom York
Don't
and
even
his
mention
droopy
that.
eyelid will come for you in the dark of the night.
He's gonna miss because
He will miss. Depth perception's a little off, but he'll come for you. I gave this a 2.
I agree that they took a step back with this album somewhat. Don't know if it's quite a 2. Perhaps we're back
1.5.
in. No, I think we're back in like the 4 or 5 range for me personally. I don't think that. I don't find myself revisiting this album very much at all.
Yeah, I wrote it's cool. I think a lot of people with some of old Radiohead stuff, most of it's depressing, but it's like, whoa, I want to listen to it. This is more like depressing and like I don't want to like think about this. You know what I mean? This album contains my yuck icky hunting bears. It's just really boring.
Was not a fan myself.
Yeah. I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 3. This was one of my, I think it was my least favorite out of them. The only song I could really come up with that I actually somewhat enjoyed was Knives Out.
You won't believe this. This record goes to number 1 in the UK and 2 in the US.
I'd figure.
In 2001, this was the second most listened to and purchased album. Each episode, we like to highlight the up-and-coming work of a discography-developing diva. Today, that is Claire Carter. The track that we are about to hear from Claire is about accepting that oneself is not perfect, something that Claire struggled with, as she fought accepting the fact that she was trans for years. Claire hopes that the song inspires others to embrace their true selves, even if they aren't perfect. The song positively rips. I've been listening to it on steady repeat for the past couple weeks. It is now time to fly me to the moon with Claire Carter and her song, I'm Not Perfect.
I'm not perfect. I don't even try. Someday I'll be gone. Don't wanna live like this. Can't spend all my days being what I'm not. If I have to live, I need to be myself. Guess I'm over it. Being what they want. You're
You can hear more from Claire Carter, listen to a playlist of our favorite Radiohead songs, visit our shop and social media pages, contact us, view our citations, and so much more by using the links in this episode's show notes. After putting out this album, Radiohead goes on tour. They sell out shows across the continent of North America, which critics noted was something that other British acts had failed to do, largely because they didn't have their stuff together. See acts like the Sex Pistols, Oasis, Joy Division, Blur, bands that had hits in the US but like could not tour the country and fell apart when they tried because usually drugs and alcohol. 2002.
True.
The band continues their tour to Europe, where they play a string of shows across the Iberian Peninsula, which isn't necessarily important, but it's fun to say the words Iberian Peninsula, which refers to that dumb little nub of Europe with, Spain and Portugal on it. They then break to go into a recording studio in Los Angeles to get working on a new record for a few weeks. 2003 rolls around. In June of the following year, their sixth album, Hail to the Thief, is given unto us. Tom York was feeling a little bothered by a guy named George W. Bush and the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Tom said that lyrics came from, quote, the general sense of ignorance and intolerance and panic and stupidity. They promoted the album on their website, posting up music videos, but also videos of them in the studio, which was rare at the time. You didn't really see the band making the album.
Too long. This album is too long. Way too long. The songs are too long.
It's long.
Too boring.
It's a long album with not a faves on it.
Yeah. 2 + 2 = 5. That's pretty good.
I think 2 + 2 = 5 is the most Radiohead song. I think if you took all of Radiohead's catalog and took the average of it all, I think 2 + 2 = 5 is like the essence of Radiohead.
The song that best explains them.
Kind of another dial back after Amnesia. Yeah, I think another.
Was Amnesiac the high watermark for you? Like, is it all downhill from there?
Oh no,
Not yet.
No,
Not yet. No.
I just think that for these two albums to be in the middle of their catalog, they were going through something.
It's rough. I give this a 3, by the way.
I think I gave it a 5.
Oh.
It's 5.
Okay. Well,
It is fine.
Justin?
Backdrifts was my favorite off the album. I also very enjoyed Sail to the Moon. I agree, though. We Suck Your Young Blood was... I don't know what the heck was going on. I honestly just wanted to skip through it. I didn't even want to listen to it. However, I actually believe this album to be slightly better than Amnesiac, personally. I gave this one a 4.8.
Are you hungry? Are you sick? Are you begging for a break? Are you sweet? Are you afraid? Are you strung up by the rails? We walk the yard.
I found this album to be much more engaging and aggressive than Amnesiac, so I did like it better, while still remaining many of the atmospheric sensibilities they explored on that album. Something interesting happened. There's a documentary called Gouge about the band The Pixies, and Johnny Greenwood gets interviewed for it. And he says in that, he actually goes on record saying this, with knowing that a camera is pointed at him. He says, quote, "One of the reasons we don't use guitars much anymore now is because there are only a handful of Pixies albums. You kind of can't keep copying them, which it feels like we've been doing for so long." And that to me is what explains the shift in the sound, where they're actively trying to not copy the Pixies anymore.
Drive my car into the ocean. You think I'm dead, but I sail away on the wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation,
Speaking of Doolittle, shout out Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, the Doctor.
Shout out Charlie Murphy.
Dead.
Chappelle Show. This podcast
Again,
sucks.
you won't believe it, but this debuts at 1 in the UK and still hits 3 in the US. Does that still make sense to you in 2003 that this is the 3rd most popular album at one point?
They're a very popular band, man.
They are, but like, it didn't even come out at Christmas time, so you can't be like, oh, everyone got this in their stocking that year or anything, you know?
That's usually what most albums.
It really is.
I think whoever is judging these things and
Simon Cowell.
yeah, needs a new job.
Can I say that people were just like sticking to something for the sake that they thought it was good once and didn't want to let go of it?
Is this about American Idol?
This was nominated for Best Alternative Music Grammy alongside the Yeah Yeah Yeahs' Fever to Tell, a band that we've talked about at length on this show, as well as the Flaming Lips' Fight Test. They all lose out to the White Stripes' Elephant. Their long time producer, Nigel Godrich, who we've talked about a lot throughout this, does rack up a Grammy for Best Engineered Album, though. This album marks the end of Radiohead's contract with EMI. Remember, they got signed onto that 6-album contract. EMI's new owner, Terra Firma, wanted to control their back catalog, and Radiohead would not let them do that, so that was the end of that. It also ends their time together as a band for a few years. Several band members have families and spend time with their existing families.
Imagine.
Tom especially, but often alongside Johnny Greenwood, work on some of their philanthropic endeavors, ranging from performing on Band-Aid 20's Do They Know It's Christmas? That feels like the kind of thing they would make fun of now. They also performed the song I Want None of This for a charity album that benefited a charity called War Child, which ensures that, quote, children have access to protection, education, and psychosocial support. It was in this year that Rachel Mary Owen, a Welsh artist, photographer, and expert on...
Rachel Mary what?
Owen? A Welsh artist, photographer, expert on medieval Italian literature. She wed our beloved Tom York, and they had a son together in 2001 and a daughter the year after their wedding. This is all interesting as they claim that they were never married throughout their marriage for over a decade, and it didn't come out until much later that they actually had been married. I don't know why they lie about that, but they did for a really long time. 2005, the band attempts to record with a new producer. So that Nigel guy who I told you they've always worked with, this is the one exception to that.
Dead.
They get a guy named Spike Stent who worked with everyone from Madonna to Depeche Mode, U2 to Grimes, but it all fell apart. I imagine Nigel Godrich was sobbing in a corner somewhere, and I feel for him at this time. They didn't even really tell him that this was happening. It's sad. Johnny and Radiohead drummer Phil Selway appear as members of the band The Weird Sisters in the film Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Oh my God.
This is real.
like an ogre, just don't care. Can you dance my hateful grip? Mama, 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 mama. Flying off from a cliff, mama, 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 mama. Swooping down to the ground, mama, mama.
2006, Tommy Bahami put out his first solo record entitled The Eraser. It's super electronic. He also went on the record saying that the band was cool with it, and the band members seem to have confirmed this. At the end of the year, the band brushes Nigel Godrich off, goes into various studios across England to work on a new record together until the summer of the following year. That all culminates in their 7th record, In Rainbows, which came out on their website in October, and it is considered the first major act to endorse the concept of pay what you want, which is exactly what it sounds like. The album was downloaded approximately 1.2 million times on the day of its release. Wow. That's pretty wild.
That is.
They did also release the album on hard copy, which went to number 1 in both the UK and the USA. Nude is their first single on the Billboard Hot 100 since 1995's High and Dry. The band puts out the stems for this song as well as Reckoner to allow fans to remix them. They even held a competition for this. This was a popular subject on Waste Central, which is their social media service they created for their fans.
So don't get big idea. Then I'm gonna
Fifteen Step, crazy. Body Snatchers is holy. Nude is holy. Weird Fishes, first radio song I remember really liking, and I still do like it. Production on this record I think is the best production yet. House of Cards, really good. Did have my lyric of the episode on it. Because I thought it was cringy.
Well, I think it's a little cringy that they're glorifying Kevin Spacey at this time on House of Cards.
First of all, really hard to pick a bad lyric. There's not much that really stand out to me. I just kind of cringe when I heard this one. I don't want to be your friend. I just want to be your lover. Jigsaw.
Have you ever yearned?
Yeah, but that's not whatever. Jigsaw falling into place, amazing. The album's nice. It's short. So I make music. Shout out Gumpy. And this record I sent so we could have it played on the show. Kind of influenced my music a lot. You guys mind if we play some? Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, the fishes have been so crazy. The fishes have been so weird. And I'm like a fish in everything I do. I'm a crazy, crazy fish, yeah. How about you? I'm a crazy dude fish, and I like to go fish. But I don't eat me, please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. Please don't eat me.
Well, so you can see a lot of where...
Some weird fishes.
Yeah. You guys like it? Right?
10 out of 10.
Thank you. I recorded that today.
30 seconds before I picked it up.
You were like, how can you... We need you to sing a song as embarrassingly as
Oh, no,
possible.
that's it. That's all him.
produced that.
The whole thing.
I made the whole beat. I mean, you know.
I think this far surpasses the two albums immediately prior to this release. I also think it's one of the most easily digestible Radiohead albums in general for all music listeners. It does have a lot of bops. The 15-step Twilight soundtrack feature is a fundamental, important event in a lot of girls my age's lives. All I Need might be my yummy yummy.
Whoa!
I said might. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm a very indecisive person. But it is up there, and so is House of Cards.
So I'll finally stop teasing you guys. This is my all-time, for sure, favorite album
Nice.
Ever?
from Radiohead. And it includes my favorite song of his entire career as well.
Which is?
Jigsaw Falling Into Place. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. I can be in the worst mood. The song comes on, I'm up, I'm dancing, I'm smiling, I'm laughing. There's nothing I can do.
You're singing at karaoke.
You know it, with the lights off. I rated this album an 8.4.
Whoa!
8.4,
Okay.
yeah.
I rated it an 8.7.
9.
Nice. Johnny Greenwood scores the film There Will Be Blood, which will lead to a professional relationship and maybe a romantic one. I don't think that's really a rumor, but I'm making it
Oopsies.
one. Between he and Paul Thomas Anderson. In Rainbows is nominated for a bunch of different Grammys. It loses in 5 categories, but it wins the Best Alternative Music Album.
Well, they always do.
Coldplay's Viva La Vida and Lil Wayne's The Carter 3 were also up for this award. And they, for Album of the Year, they all somehow lose out to Raising Sand, an album by Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. Robert Plant's the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. Why are all these 70s artists like doing so well in the early 2000s? Radiohead performs at the award ceremony live, accompanied by the University of Southern California Marching Band for a rendition of 15 Step. In 2009, they get to work on their next record, which gets eclipsed, like Twilight, by Tom,
Edward would not like that.
who starts a new band with Flea and Nigel Godrich called Atoms for Peace. Phil Selway also puts out a solo record called Familial, on which he leaves the security of his drum kit to sing and play guitar instead. They kind of don't really do much for a couple years.
He's bald. He's been bald for a while.
Yeah. 2011, 2 years after a series of false starts and side projects, Radiohead put out their 8th record, The King of Limbs. It's 8 songs long. I gave it a 1.5. It has my Yuck Icky song on it, Bloom. I find it long, meandering, a lack of melody. I think it's
I like
just
that. I thought it
gobbledygook.
was like creepy.
To me, it feels masturbatory and boring.
Short album. Love that. Love that. These songs are fine. They're just not too gripping. It didn't feel complete.
I put down, I don't think I've taken enough drugs to understand this record. And I stand by that.
I give it a 6.
Okay.
I do
That's hot.
I liked Little by Little, Lotus Flower, Give Up the Ghost, and Separator.
I give it a 4. Justin.
I gave it a 2.
Oh, damn.
The only
Damn.
song I could find that really interested me was Morning, Mr. Magpie.
Oh, that was
That was
almost
the
my
high
Yuck
point
Icky.
for me on this album, and still,
And we're not talking too high here.
yeah,
That might be why I didn't like the album, though. But
sure.
all time, I did not like this song. Feral.
Yeah.
Was not a fan.
That might be my Yuck Icky.
What do you dislike about it?
I was like, when I was listening to this album, I very much was soundtracking activities with it, and I just remember stopping what I was doing and being like, what exactly is happening?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm normally very good at kind of just like backgrounding with music. In this case, not so much. I couldn't do it.
It seems they went back to more straightforward rock on In Rainbows, and this is the pendulum swinging far back the other way. The complicated rhythms and time signatures inspired the band to bring on a second drummer for their live shows, a guy named Clive Deemer. He had drummed for Susie Sue, Portishead, and Hawkwind. That's cool.
Portishead is cool.
I'm shocked to hear it, but this goes to 6 in the US and 7 in the UK. Still did really well, despite being an exceptionally challenging record.
Yeah.
In 2012, the band takes to the road yet again, which you won't believe, revisiting North America, their first time since Obama was in the White House. Coincidence? They stopped by Third Man Records, the studio owned by Jack White, recorded a whole bunch of stuff and used none of it. This is something I don't remember hearing about, and it's really terrible. Tragedy struck the band when they were in Toronto on June 16th, when just an hour before doors were set to open for their last show of the tour, the roof of the venue collapsed, which injured 3 members of their road crew and killed Scott Johnson, the band's drum technician.
Oh my God.
They honored Johnson at their next concert in France the following month, and Live Nation, as well as an engineer, were brought under 13 charges of violating Ontario's health and safety laws. These charges exceeded the statute of limitations and were dismissed. Radiohead was understandably pissed and distraught. The following year, they take some time away. Makes sense when on the last show of your tour, you know, someone dies and a bunch of people get hurt. Yeah. But yeah, Tom basically is just working with Atoms for Peace. They put out their debut record, Amok. 2014, Johnny Greenwood scores another Paul Thomas Anderson film, Inherent Vice. Tom and Phil put out their second solo record separately. Tom's is called Tomorrow's Modern Boxes, and Phil's is called Weather House. After all that fun, the band gets going again in September on their 9th record. And the following year in 2015, the band were asked to do the theme song to the Daniel Craig James Bond film, Spectre. It was rejected. But they put it out on SoundCloud.
My hunger burns, a bullet hole, spectre, my mortal soul. These rumors and suspicion, anger is a poison. Only truth I could see.
Tom and Rachel separate, announcing that, quote, after 23 highly creative and happy years, they were romantically over. Rachel died the following year from cancer. Nigel Godrich's father also passed away right around that time. So it was a time marked by deep tragedy for the band. In 2016, they record their 9th and to date most recent album, which came out in May of 2016, and it's entitled A Moon-Shaped Pool. As you might imagine, most of the lyrics on this are about losing Rachel for Tom. It's got to be so difficult to like choose to separate and then to not by choice lose someone.
Yeah.
I imagine he had a lot of things that were unresolved, and I think this album was a attempt at trying to resolve and find closure in some of those things. It's 11 songs long. I found it exceptionally boring, but there's some really great melodies throughout it, like on Identikit. I love the melodies all across that song, and there's really cool guitar work. But on the whole, it wasn't really for me. Couldn't hold my attention.
Broken hearts make it rain. 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 Broken hearts.
Yeah, I like that it was experimental. I like that it was it was very grim and ethereal. I liked a lot of songs on it. I like Full Stop. I like The Numbers, and True Love Waits is so sad. And I gave it a 5.
I'm gonna join Justin on this decimal rating. I give it a 6.5.
Okay.
I definitely agree with the sentiment that it is an ethereal album, especially with the full embrace of the synth work in the production and the composure, and a lot of clean and obviously rawly emotional vocal work from Tom too. So I think in those respects, it's a standout album.
I think I agree with you. This one was hard for me to keep my attention. However, I do give him the benefit that, this album was intentionally for him to get his emotions through and kind of appreciating it for that aspect. I gave it a 5.5.
Nice.
Dex Dark was my favorite off the album.
Well, this really sad album about the death of his partner ends up going to number 1 in the UK. It's their 6th album to go to number 1 in the UK, and it makes it to number 3 in the USA. That to me is insane. They spend the next 3 years touring the world, including a show in Tel Aviv, Israel in 2017, for which they were condemned as it violated a boycott of all things cultural across Israel. Tom York put out a statement saying that, quote, "We don't endorse Netanyahu any more than we endorse Trump, but we still play America. Playing in a country that isn't the same thing as endorsing the government," which I think is a valid point. But I also see the point of people being pissed. Notably, we'll just continue on because one or two things have happened in Israel since 2017. As you might have heard. 2017, in their first year of eligibility, 25 years after their first record came out. That's how long you have to wait to be eligible to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They are nominated, and they don't get in. But they do the following year. Predictably, Tom, and less predictably, Johnny, didn't want to go, so they didn't. Phil and Ed went instead and made speeches on behalf of the band. After being introduced by David Byrne of the Talking Heads. It's kind of cool. The guy who they got the name from inducted them into the Hall of Fame. Johnny Greenwood scores the film Phantom Thread, for which he received an Oscar nomination. In 2018, not to be outdone, Tom scored the horror remake Suspiria. 2019, Tom also put out another solo record called Anima. Following a string of hacks and leaks, Radiohead posted their entire catalog for free on YouTube, which you can still access right now. And they also create the Radiohead Public Library, which gives access to all of their content, music videos, live videos, artwork, whatever, to anyone with internet access. They've basically just been like, we're not interested in money anymore. And they just turned the keys over to everyone. 2020, as the world settled into a little pandemic, Ed O'Brien released his first solo record called Earth. And the band re-released whole concerts of them playing on YouTube each week. Johnny and Tom teamed up with an English drummer named Tom Skinner, known under the name Hello Skinny, to form a band called The Smile, so that they could keep working together throughout COVID. Nothing happens for 2 years. 2022, The Smile put out their first record, A Light for Attracting Attention, which critics adored, including Pitchfork, who doesn't adore anything or anyone. The Smile toured for the next 2 years and put out 2 more albums, Wall of Eyes and Cutouts. So where are we today? 2024, Colin Greenwood joined up with Nick Cave and Warren Ellis to play live with them. Phil Selway put out yet another solo record called Strange Dance. Johnny did a record called Jarak Kwabarak with Dudu Tassa, who is from Israel, and he was criticized for retaining this connection and project during the Israeli-Hamas war. On that front, Tom was heckled while playing a solo show in October last year by a pro-Palestinian protester. He walked off the stage, and that was the end of that. Colin Greenwood told London's The Times that Radiohead had rehearsed over the summer and that they were indeed still together. And that, my friends, is Radiohead. Did this process change anything for you? Did it make you appreciate or resent them more? What did you come away with?
I think I appreciate them more because I really didn't listen to any of their stuff after In Rainbows until this episode was a thing. Cool. Yeah, so I didn't realize that they hadn't like as much of a shift in their production as they did.
Yeah.
So it's cool to kind of witness the evolution.
I was brought on short notice on the show, so I had a measly 3 days to listen to all 9 of their albums.
Wild.
I think it posed its own complications as well as benefits for listening to it back to back like that so recently. I think it definitely makes it easier for me to recall on things like that and those kinds of things. Now,
It's also a lot to remember.
it is a lot. Varying in his styles and piggybacking off of what she said was, you know, he very much developed into many different styles in his music. And to me, that was really kind of honestly cool. I respect it. It reminds me, you know, kind of, and even going through this podcast, finding out their trials and tribulations kind of thing. And the fact that they didn't give up and kept growing and giving it their all was pretty cool to me.
And doing so with the same setup. I mean, they add that extra drummer at one point, but aside from that, it's
Wasn't that just for live shows? Yeah, it wasn't even in the studio.
But these, you know, British kids who found each other in school and stuck
Fell in
together
love.
decades later. They fell in love and stuck together all these years later.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, I didn't know too much about them other than, you know, what I heard from my mom or what I'd hear, you know. And then I sat down and listened to him and I was like, you know, I actually really like Radiohead. I think I can actually really appreciate. He's got a very beautiful voice. He's very, very talented. And, you know, I'm pretty particular with my music and stuff. And, you know, I think it found its way in.
Well, thank you, Olivia and Justin, so much for coming on. I wish you and all of our listeners a pleasant and professional month.
Triple D, let's rock.
Rock on.